How do you select a dog collar for the upcoming season with Rehan of Garmin right now? Welcome in Gun Talk Hunt fans. This is your host, KJ. And today we're going to really be diving a little bit further into the wing shooting guys and the dog guys. So this is your episode. Today's Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, Hodgdon, the gunpowder people, Benelli, Dominate the Skies, Smith & Wesson, and Brownells, serious about firearms since 1939. And today with me, special guest, is a gentleman from Garmin, Mr. Rehan. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, KJ. Thanks for having me on.
That's good. Briefly, we kind of had a conversation before this, and I think everybody kind of shares in our, I wouldn't say misery, but, we as hunters, like often we find excuses to get out, but there's always excuses that get us like drawn into the office and take away our hunts. And you're kind of dealing with that right now.
I got a 2-month-old little girl at home, and I've been trying to find every which way to get out. Today's actually opener, and I had getting out, running the dogs. But let me tell you, she had different ideas, and she was up all night. So I'm just doing my best there.
Man, that's tough. And what's funny about that is 2 months. So that would be, September. So that's a good month to have a kid. I would recommend, if you're going to have kids, like try to plan your kids out by your hunting seasons.
Well, this wasn't necessarily the plan, but God,
well, but no, you did good. You did good.
Try to do that.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily in like the whitetail rut. Like, how awful would that be? Like that for me would be devastating if I had a kid right around this time, like November, in November. Oh, worst month for me to have a kid.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the weirdest things for me, or not weirdest things, but, and I'm sure you're the same way. It's like, you spend your whole life hunting and everything is based around this time of year.
Yeah.
Have a baby, and it's like, oh man, like this is what I've been missing. It's like I wouldn't trade anything for the world. And you'll be happy to know I've actually already bought her first shotgun.
Already? What'd you buy her?
It's a Browning Sweet 16, which I'm going to give to her on her 16th birthday.
That's perfect.
It completely before then, but that'll be a nice present for her.
Hey, that's good. That's going to be great. No, my kids' birthdays are actually in March and in August, and people are going to probably say I'm weird, but I did that on purpose because I know like March, there's not a lot going on, and August is right before. So I also had to develop it like by SHOT Show, because SHOT Show always takes place in January. So I couldn't have a kid in January. That'd be another good month, but show season starts and man, I'm always gone. So I didn't want to miss birthdays.
Well, that's I guess you just make the best of it. But the other thing I've been thinking about is it's interesting from a hunting perspective. Like I learned from my father and my grandfather, and it's interesting for me. And I've taken my nephew out hunting on his first deer hunt and first pheasant hunt. But to see that it's like, oh, this thing that I love is going to live on beyond me in this next generation. Like even in these 2 months, I've been like, that's something special and that's something cool.
Yeah. But another good thing is, if you do have, a kid during your hunting seasons, like when they get old enough to actually go with you and they get to hunt with you, it's just going to be awesome.
Yeah. Kevin, you broke up there a little bit, but.
Oh, I was simply just reflecting on how awesome it'd be, on their birthday, they could be in the field and stuff like that. It's just a different way to do it.
Yeah. Different, but
yeah, so I do have a kind of a funny, because we reflect on, I'm a very big planner, and like most everything like kind of works out for me except this year. So I take my 2 boys to youth opener, and usually it's money. Like I can count on it. We're going to get a couple deer. Their seasons are going to be kind of finished. This year didn't work out that way. And so my season now has gone from, okay, I'm going to be hunting with a couple friends and it's all for me, to now I'm going to have my 2 boys on like in the whitetail rut, which is going to be awesome for them to see. But it kind of took away from my hunting, and that's a little bit selfish on my part, but.
Well, I get it. I mean, I understand. Just out of curiosity, where are you doing your hunting? Are you down there in Louisiana or are you in Oklahoma?
I'll be in Oklahoma for the whitetail rut there. And that's, it's the rut really kind of takes place in Oklahoma. I mean, I guess it's kind of where you're at. Like if you're up near that Kansas border around in that area, it's going to run a little bit earlier. Typically for us, it's, third week of November is really when you start, the bucks are really, really super cruising. And in the week after that, there's going to be some in lockdown, but you can kind of hit a lot of different areas you'll see bucks in all phases of the rut.
Yeah. Well, I've hunted Oklahoma a couple times, and one of the things that amazed me is like, it's such a sleeper state. I mean, from deer, from birds, like it's got a lot going on, and I'm surprised, you don't hear about it more often.
It does. And, we ran dogs for bird hunting a lot. Western Oklahoma was the mecca of quail in Western Oklahoma. When season starts was always great. And there's been a really big downturn. I don't want to say there's been a big downturn in the past 20 years, but, 3 or 4 years ago, it started to pick back up, and then, man, we just shot back down again in our numbers. There was times when I'd go a whole season without like scaring myself to death walking through a field. And 3 or 4 years ago, I'd hit some good coveys. But now it's kind of back to the way it was. And I'm not sure exactly what that was. If, the hog population is taking a toll on them, I'm not sure what it is.
Well, I always think with quail, there's not like a silver bullet. There's a lot of different things. If you look at quail from their species population in the traditional range, it's declined like 90% since the late 60s, right?
Right.
But Texas and Oklahoma, I think, are two states still to this day that their swing, like if they catch weather at the right time and they can get some bugs off for those chicks and stuff like that, they can just. But again, if it's dry or something like that, you're going to have a hard time finding it.
Oh yeah.
It is. And then you look at Texas and then Oklahoma, and then what's nice is Kansas, right? I'm based in Kansas City, a lot on both sides of Kansas, Missouri, and I would always kind of say one of the top three from a quail, and I think it's a little bit more stable, even though it's been kind of up and down,
right?
As well.
Yeah. And we're talking with Rehan of Garmin. And since we're kind of getting on to quail and everything, and we kind of briefly discussed it right before, but let's start talking a little bit about like how guys like really like finely tune what type of like GPS and collar system they need to be running with their style of hunting and their dogs. Because that's such like you go on to Garmin's website, and I've been over there a lot here in the past, like 4 months, researching and trying to understand the process of selecting what collar and system works for you. Walk through that a little bit on all that Garmin offers.
Yeah, well, you're going to get me rambling here because I feel like that's,
I'll jump in when needed.
That's fine. So I guess a little bit of history for listeners who are not familiar is that Tritronics was a company that started a long time ago, and they kind of started e-collars. And Garmin, we're a company that's known for GPS, but we've got so many other things. And I want to say like it was before my time, but like 11, 12 years ago, I think we came out with the Astro system. So that was a dog GPS tracking system. And then with the purchase of Tritronics, you were able to see with the Alpha 100, the first integration really of tracking and training from a dog perspective. And that was 8-9 years ago. And I honestly, that's the reason, that unit is the reason I'm here. I remember when that first came out, I looked at it and I was like, that Alpha 100 is going to change how people hunt and relate to their dogs. And it has. I mean, over the past 8-9 years now, it's been kind of a ubiquitous thing. You look in kind of the hound world, the upland world. I mean, chances are you're going to see people running Garmin. And so the first one there was the Alpha 100. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about Garmin is that it's taking customer feedback and taking what is it like, what is it people don't like, what can we adapt in based on technology that we've developed. And so, there's a wide variety of items kind of for the GPS dog guy. the first, one of the first track and train units following the Alpha 100 was called the Pro 550 Plus, and I don't have one here, but I've got a box. I'm going to show you what it is, and you'll probably recognize that.
Yeah.
That's the tube style, right? The Flyway, all the old Tritronic tube style, one hand, no look training. And what people really said was, man, that Alpha 100 unit is fantastic. That's got a lot of horsepower, but I don't necessarily need that much. And so what we did was we created a really simplified tracking system on it. And on this box, you can see it right here. There's a little delta, and that delta gives you the distance to your dog, the direction of your dog, where the truck is, and then also whether or not your dog's treed or if it's on point. Yeah. So with that one, that's something that I would say people who are doing a lot of training with their dogs, that's a great training collar that transitions really well into hunting. Because when you think about it, GPS, I always just call it an insurance policy for number one. A dog's always going to be a dog. Eventually something's going to happen and you need to know where that dog is. And if you have like a fully broke dog, you can be hunting, in heavy cover in the woods. You can hunt in big CRP. And if they're down and they just stay down, you could spend time just looking for them. Right?
Oh yeah. And that's so it's funny that you mentioned the 550, or I ran the 550 plus on the dog that I've got now. And we're right in that puppy mode. We were right in that training mode. But my wife wanted something that she could use as well. And that's when we jumped down to the, I think it's the Delta XC, the Delta Sport XC, which is a great little unit. But the 550 plus, just to know where that dog is, because he doesn't range very far. But when you're shed hunting, man, he's constantly moving. He's circling those areas, and you just to be able to have like basically eyes on him, and understand that direction was where I really found the 550 plus to be outstanding.
Yeah. And all of those you can set it, but it's got a 2.5 second update rate. So there's a certain amount of it too, where it's just that confidence of, I always know where that dog's at. And so you can focus more wholly on what you're there to do. If you're shed hunting, or if you're actually, out hunting birds or anything like that, you can focus more on that and have the confidence of saying, well, I know that Garmin GPS is going to be tracking that dog.
Right.
And there's also, it's the efficiency standpoint to it as well. And we kind of talked about, that broke dog, where if you go, you either are going to spend time, I always say, you either spend time looking for your dog or spend time hunting, right? Like that's just the way it goes. So with that update rate, and get over there, if your dog's down, boom, kick a covey up, get the rooster up and keep moving, because you only have so many hours in a day. So that's always kind of how I relate to GPS, as that, an efficiency and a safety standpoint as well.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in real quick to hear a word from our sponsors. All right, Timney Triggers. Timney's got a new trigger out, and it's for the CZ model 457 rimfire. This is a big deal because, one, it's customer requested. It's actually the top customer requested trigger that Timney's had in a long time. So what does Timney do? Well, they listen to the customers and they provide exactly what they want. It's machined using state-of-the-art technology and features Timney's new sear engagement adjustment lock design for a friendly experience. This is all better for you, and it means your new 457 rimfire is going to be shooting some pretty slick rounds downrange. Visit timneytriggers.com to find out more. Hodgdon Powder Company. They are passionate about powder, and they're passionate about getting you the right powder for the job. So over at Hodgdon Reloading Data Center, you can go on there, you type in all of your information. So you select what you want to develop, what bullet you're going to use, and it kicks out what powders are recommended. Really easy stuff. You can download all the reloading data right there at hodgdonreloading.com. Check them out today. Benelli, looking for a new hunting rifle for the field this year? I think you should look no further than the Benelli Loophole, which has got to be the slickest looking rifle out there. It's Italian designed and produced. And I'm going to tell you what, the chassis style rifle allows for fit and customization right out of the box, features sub MOA accuracy. What does that mean? It means it shoots really, really good. So head over to BenelliUSA.com to learn more. All right, we're back with Rehan of Garmin, and we're talking a little bit about the units available and how do you select? How do you choose the right system for your dog? Because not all are equal. We've talked about the Pro 50, 550, and we've talked about a little bit about the Delta Sport XC that I'm using, but there's one that I would say it's probably the top end of anything I've ever put on a dog. And I'm running an Alpha 200i right now. Talk a little bit.
Well,
what?
Isaiah, how do you like it so far?
Yeah, I love it. And there's a couple of things that I really love. And I actually wrote a newsletter piece on this that has been out. So jump over to guntalk.com and go to our news section and you'll be able to see it there. Kind of a full review of it and what I liked and some things that did not work for me just because of what we're talking about today is the application of it. But the Alpha 200i is unbelievable. I mean, the tracking capabilities that I have on that to track not only my handheld unit, but also my dog. And it's so consistent. That's the one thing that I notice about it because there's a walk I take in the morning and I know exactly how far that is. I know that because I track it on that Alpha 200i just to check and make sure like how reliable and how accurate it is. And it's within 0.002 miles of every reading that I got. And that was tracked over 3 months worth of use. So it's been unbelievably accurate and true.
Right. So, I mean, like you kind of mentioned, Garmin is known. That's where we started in the GPS, in the GPS business. And that's what so many of our products are based around. And when you think about it, we've been in that business for 30 years. So yeah, it's going to be really accurate on that.
Yeah.
Side. But for those of you who haven't seen it, I've got one of the units right here. This is the Alpha 200i. And one of the things from the Alpha 100, it's a lot slimmer. It's got a larger screen. It's sunlight readable. This goes back to what I was talking about, where over the last 8 years, we've really listened to what people wanted. And what they liked, what they didn't like, and what they wanted to see out of a second generation of that product. And so that's what you get. You get a slimmer profile. You get a larger, it's a 3.5-inch sunlight readable display. What a lot of people don't think about is that Garmin, the 200i pulls double duty between hound at night and then like up on hunters during the day.
Yeah.
So on the 100, the screen just wasn't as easy to read during the day. So that's fixed on this one as well. The actual operation of it, one of the things that, and this applies for all of Garmin's, dog tracking and training products. And I think in hunting in general, you and I are going to hunt different.
Right.
I don't care if we're hunting the same species, how you and I hunt are going to be different. Like I always, my buddies just ride me because they're like, you go too fast. You go too, you know what I mean? I'm like, nope, stick and move, keep going, covering ground.
I think we hunt probably more alike than you realize because I'm much of the same, hard driving and hard going.
Well, and so that's really when the question comes back, which unit is right for you? It's a question of how do you like to relate to your hunt? And we'll talk about that a little bit further, but that's one of the things this unit does really well is that you can customize it based on what do you like the most. Like these buttons up here used to just be training buttons. Now you can customize them to snap to, like, let's say I want a new hunt here, I want a continuous here, and I want, here or a timer. You can customize all those out, and on the side buttons just scroll over. So you can lock the whole screen out. You don't have to touch the screen. You just use those buttons.
And that's one thing that I really liked about it because a lot of my walks and everything were done in the middle of the night where I couldn't see, but I knew like there's a textile like touch to those buttons. So you can feel, and if you know how that thing is programmed, you can correct and call back. And that was one of my favorite things about it was those three little touch buttons did so much on that unit.
Well, and that's the thing. This thing has so much horsepower. And anytime you talk about technology in the outdoors, I always kind of say you can use it as much or as little as you want. And one of the things about a unit like this is you customize it, and if you just want to relate to it in one way, you can do that. And then as you continue to adapt into the unit, you can expand it. Hey, what do I want to do now? And I don't think you're going to run out of things to play around with in this. So
no,
go ahead.
It really is. I mean, I would kind of liken to it's the high end, it's the Ford Raptor of the line. Like it's that top line of units. But I was able, and what I like about the Alpha 200i is the ability you can separate the two. So there, you get multi-use out of it. It's not one dimensional, and which I thought was really useful, because I took it on a Colorado elk hunt and was able to use the InReach capabilities of that unit. And that is so underutilized, I think, in a unit like this.
Man, so for those of you listening who don't know, on the Alpha 200i, there's an integrated button that's right here. It's called InReach, and that's the SOS functionality. But InReach is a two-way SMS, so a text communication device that operates on the Iridium satellite service. So if you're outside of cell service, you still have coverage and you can still text people. And then the other side of it is that it has an SOS feature. And by the nature of what we do, hunting is just dangerous. And so having an SOS is that if, God forbid, something happened, you fall and you break your leg and you're in the backcountry, you can hit the SOS. It sends up a signal to GEOS and then goes to the IRCC, and then it filters back down to the local authority of whatever that may be in the area. Right. So you will be, you will have a team, like a SAR team or a local sheriff's department, communicating with you. Hey, what's going on? Do you need help? And you can get out. And it operates on a subscription plan, but what's really nice is it's month to month. So if you're only using it for a few months out of the year, that's all you pay for. But like you said, when you take away the dog collars, like this is still just one of the most robust handheld GPSs on the market with an integrated InReach system into it. So I would say it pulls double duty, but it pulls triple duty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can take this thing out. And that's something that I always really like letting people know about with this one. And the other thing with InReach, and we've talked about it briefly, but this is what I've learned. Nobody ever wakes up in the morning thinking they're going to have an emergency in the afternoon.
Yeah.
No. So to have that is one thing, but wife and little baby at home. The thing that I like knowing is that if there's an emergency at home and I'm out hunting and I don't have cell service, they can still get in contact with me, which that type of peace of mind is just unbelievable.
Well, and the way I look at it, and I've actually got to use the InReach quite a bit on the Colorado hunt, because I was out there, I was by myself, and, just to check in. And I think that's use your messages, because I forget what the plans are, but you need to use your messages. I mean, if you can, check in daily. I mean, that's just good practice. That's good. Like, this is where I'm at and this is what it is. But on that elk hunt, it was kind of a love-hate relationship with the Alpha 200i, because at that point I had 2 months of use with it, and I was so frustrated because it was so accurate, because I would look at it and I'd go, man, I know I've got to be 2 miles up this mountain, and I'd look at it and it would only read that I had made it 800 yards. So when you look at it like that, that's a little frustrating, but it was nice to be able to sit there and watch my progress, because you can track your lines and you can track everything about it, and you can drop waypoints, which is really cool. And it integrates with base map. So if you've got maps that you want uploaded, you can do that.
You can also do direct to device over Wi-Fi bird's eye view. And that's really nice. And you kind of touched on something, and this is something that shed hunters do too, which I just love. It's like, or just anytime you're hunting, is that you can grid out the areas that you've hunted. And the other thing, from an efficiency standpoint, when you're looking at aerials directly off of your device, and sometimes when you're running a dog, you're going far in, and then you run into a cattail slough that there's no way you're crossing.
Yep.
So there's the efficiency standpoint to it as well. And so to answer your question directly, like, who is this unit for? And it's for somebody that has a lot of, that may be doing a lot of backcountry stuff, needs InReach, needs mapping, needs that different communication, is hunting with a lot of dogs. You can group different dogs and store up to 200 different collar IDs here.
Yeah.
And this, like you said, kind of the premium top of the line unit that we have there with it. It's got everything you need in it, incredibly customizable. So, if you place a premium and emphasis on kind of the mapping, that, training customizable, the InReach component. This is going to be a unit for you. And the other thing I would say is all of these things, like when we talk about the 550 plus, that's training and tracking. When we talk about 200i, that's training and tracking in InReach. So all of these things have that capability in it. It's that how are you primarily relating to it is kind of.
Hey, let's listen to these sponsors right now. All right, we're going to break it down here with Silencer Central. If you want a Banish 30, which is Silencer Central's suppressor that fits on 30 caliber and lower, I think you need to head over there because you can do this from the comforts of your couch. So if you're sitting there in your easy chair and you're saying, KJ, what are you talking about? Yeah, you can have a silencer delivered to your door. It's that easy. So they will send you all the paperwork. They'll get it all figured out for you. All the trust and stuff, they do that for you. They send you all the tools you need to do your fingerprints from your easy chair. And then you submit it all. You pay your $200 tax stamp. You wait forever. And then guess what shows up at your door? A Banish 30. That's what I'm waiting on right now. So head on over to silencercentral.com to find out how you can be an easy chair silencer suppressor champion. Springfield Armory. The Model 2020 Waypoint rifle is favored amongst the gun talk crew because it's so accurate and it's lightweight. So we're all oohing and awing over these lightweight rifles for good reason, because they're accurate, and especially for these Western big game hunters, they're easy to carry in the field. And if you're going out with kids or anything like that, you don't have extra weight because of all the snacks that you'll be carrying anyway into the field. And they're low profile, non-snag safety, a Trigger Tech trigger in this thing. It's adjustable from 2.5 to 5 pounds. I keep mine right around that 2.5 to 3 pound range. But visit springfield-armory.com to learn more. And Smith & Wesson. Did you know they make an M&P 12 tactical shotgun, for home defensive uses? I know it's not hunting. Stay with me though. This is very important because it's got 2 mag tubes, ambi safety selector, removable Picatinny rail. So you can put a red dot up there, put iron sights, whatever you want, but it holds 20 mini shells. In each of those tubes, you can fit an entire box of mini shells, or you can mix and match them between the mini shells, 2 3/4 inch or 3-inch Magnum shells, whatever you want. So you can have buckshot, you can have your slugs in there, you can even have some birdshot in there. But it also comes with interchangeable M&P palm swell grips. So the M&P 2.0 pistol grips that has a nice firm texture allowing for a great grip, it has those on it. Visit smith-wesson.com/MP12 to learn more today. All right, we're back and we're talking with Rehan of Garmin, and we're talking about the Alpha 200i and who's that really used for. InReach. I want to talk a little bit about that. And I know a lot of us guys are very proud of, we believe that our cellular networks have the capability to reach everywhere. And that's just not the case. You hunt, you're in remote areas. Most of the times you're not sitting on top of your neighbor or somewhere where you can get access. A few years ago, I was hunting under a fence all by myself. My truck was a mile away. And I like you do on a Sunday afternoon, man, you kind of fall asleep and you're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear movement. You wake up and there's a rattlesnake like 3 feet from you. That's terrifying on multiple levels. And that's how the property caught fire that day. But I walk through that scenario and I think to myself of all the things that could have happened. I had horrible cell service. My battery was nearly dead. I was a mile from the truck. I was hunting alone. So you combine all 4 of those right there. And now what do you have is disaster. So I get bit. Let's say I get bit. What am I going to do? Well, one, my heart's going to be racing. It's going to pump that venom in through quicker. I'm going to be trying to get back to the truck that's a mile away. Rather than the InReach, you need to be carrying something with InReach with you because that's your access out. That's your lifeline. That's what keeps your heart from pumping so fast, trying to figure out, and your mind's going to be racing. And on that day, like I kind of step forward and go, man, I need another way to access or at least have someone near me hunting. And I hate telling that story because I did so many things wrong, but it was a valuable lesson.
Well, you're an experienced outdoors person, you know, and I feel like everybody listening is as well. And I've had that happen. I've gotten myself in a really bad situation. This actually happened 2 seasons ago. I did a late season duck hunt by myself. I went way too far in. I was busting ice and a storm came in. I started just kind of overheating and I started to get worried. And I will also say the mistake I made is that, you know, use that InReach is that you can communicate, like don't wait until it's too long.
Right.
With that button. But the thing that I would say is that in a situation is that there's a certain amount of, you need to prioritize things. You need to prioritize decision making, and you need to not panic. And so having that ability, for me personally, knowing that if I needed to, I had a button I could hit, I could reach out to individuals. It helped me deal with problem A, B, and C, and get out without panicking and causing more problems with it. And so that is something, and I would say it's, you know, not as a Garmin employee, but just as an outdoorsman, I really hope everybody starts using InReach, because it used to be like, you know, hey, you'd write a note, hey, I'm going here. I should be back by Sunday at 7 p.m. If you don't hear from me by 9, call my brother and the police, right? Like,
right.
And we have that technology to be able to always use that if you want to use it. And the subscription side of things, I mean, it goes like a phone plan, it can go up and down, but the starting package, I think, is about $12, which that's about like the cost of a gas station lunch these days, right? So
exactly.
It's peace of mind for $12 a month. And there's one other thing on InReach. There's a whole bunch on InReach and all these products, but there's a live track. So if you're out hunting, you can send a link to people and say, hey, follow me. And there's a fun aspect to that of, I say you can hunt with the whole family, even if they're not there, because they can follow the computer. But the safety aspect of that is, if you're moving and you're supposed to be moving and somebody sees you moving, great. If you're not moving and you're supposed to be moving, somebody back home can reach out to you to say, hey, everything all right?
Are you good? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you good? And one of the things, and we should talk about the Alpha 10. This is the new, this thing.
Yeah.
Launched. But real quick, one of the things with it is, this is the Garmin Instinct Solar. It's one of the watches. And the reason I bring this up is because Garmin, has something what we call the ecosystem. And so the ecosystem is compatible products within product families. So this dog tracking unit, you can pair this into your watch, and it has a dog tracking widget on it. So you can actually throw this in your pack and just use this to track your dogs.
Yeah.
Likewise, it pairs into the InReach. So you can, and the reason I'm bringing this up is that, let's say, you know, there's even emergencies within an emergency sometimes. So if you fall and you cannot access your InReach device, you can actually trigger an SOS directly off of your watch.
Well, that goes directly to the guys bow hunting. I mean, man, how often do you sit there and you throw your InReach in your pack, you put your pack up, and then all of a sudden your tree stand breaks and now you're laying on the ground and your pack's up in the tree.
So you got it. Yeah, that's always the scariest thing every year. Keep it on you. It's got to be within essentially Bluetooth connectivity, right?
Right.
But a lot of times people will hook it to their pack and whatnot. And you actually, while we're on the topic of bow hunting, I don't know if you heard, but we just put out the brand new Garmin Zero A1i Pro. That's the digital bow sight. The first one came out in 2018 and just kind of took ATA by storm. This is the first like Gen 2 product with it, completely redesigned rail system. It's got an auto calibrate. So setup of it is so easy. But for those of you who are not familiar, it's a rangefinder and a single pin digital bow sight in one. And so when you press a button, it's going to drop a pin, and that's an angle compensated pin. So you know exactly if it's at 27 yards, that's the 27 yards.
It's 27 yards with angles.
Yeah, there was actually a great story. One of our employees shot a 200-inch deer and it was a 6-yard shot at negative 48 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, it was just straight down. And what he was saying, and it's, when you think about it, nobody practices that shot.
No.
Nobody
How do you?
Shot. Yeah, right. But the thing he was saying is that he had such confidence in that zero, because even at that extreme shot, it was giving the exact pin that he needed. All right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But tying it back to the ecosystem, on that, you can actually send, when you range and send it, right, that site stores a GPS location, and you can send that GPS location back to your watch or your handheld. So when you get out of the stand, everything looks different. You can walk directly over to essentially what would be point of impact and start tracking, or vice versa. If you hit one, it runs down a timberline 200 yards and ducks in. You can range where you saw that last duck in and go directly over to that spot just to try to help recover that animal.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, with all this technology, like it makes us more efficient as hunters. I really like that. Do you worry about loss of woodsmanship when it comes to that?
I think, in regard to the site, like that's a good question with the site, where people's like, well, that's the site, all of those things, the primary tenet of that site is precision aiming. It's solving a problem that, you no longer have to gap. With dog tracking products, it's that where your dog is. How many stories have you heard of dogs getting lost, dogs getting hit by cars?
Oh my gosh, a lot. Yeah.
Boat out overnight, hoping that your dog comes back.
Yeah.
All of these things are kind of to help you be more efficient, effective, and safe in the outdoors. And I always say there's two types of technology in the outdoors. There's technology that hampers an outdoor experience. And, when I took my
cell phones.
Yeah, well, when I took my nephew on his first deer hunt, he was playing a game on his phone, trying to kill time to get back home. And that's an example of technology hampering an outdoor experience. Yep. When you look at GPS devices, to track your dogs, track you, know where safety is, InReach, being able to communicate with loved ones, zero bow sights for precision aiming, those are things that are enhancing experiences. And as the world just becomes increasingly time sensitive, those are there to really help you experience the outdoors more efficiently, more effectively. And like I said, hopefully safer from that side.
Safety is definitely a big thing, but I think, if it's a loss of woodsmanship, and maybe I shouldn't have phrased it that way, because that's not fair to what you guys are doing, because you are enhancing, you're giving guys another outlet to be more ethical and, within time constraints, because we're all constrained by time. We all wish we could have more time in the outdoors. And you guys are providing an outlet to make our time more efficient. And man, losing a dog, there's nothing worse. Actually, I guess I don't know who the guy is, but I should thank him, because I had a dog that I got because it was lost. Tried to find the owner, and come to find out she was wicked gun shy. So I'm sure that's what happened, but he lost a good dog, and I was the benefactor of that. Thank goodness.
So I'll tell you what, broke up there a little bit again, but the guy you need to thank, or I don't know the guy you need to thank, but that aspect of, well, I guess I broke up long enough. I didn't really quite catch what you were saying. The last I heard was you found a dog there, and I was trying to pick up
he didn't have a collar on this dog, and fantastic dog.
Yeah. How many times have you heard the story of I've lost my, losing dogs? That was just a way that it happened, and that's kind of that example of like, you don't have to have that anymore. You don't have to go dark from your friends and family for 3 days on a backcountry hunt,
Yeah.
All of those different things. And so I don't think that any of this stuff is a loss of woodsmanship, because I always say that's helping you keep track of your dogs. You still have to know what you're doing, habitat you're getting into, the biology of the birds. What are they like? All of those different things. With deer, you still have to know the wind. You still have to know everything about it. It's just at those critical junctures where in the past there's been a deficit of something that has potentially ruined a hunt.
Right.
kind of helps step in there on that one.
And what's really cool, and we haven't really even dove into the watches and their capabilities, but I mean, you can put all your ballistics on your watch now, and that's some of the coolest stuff that you guys are developing right now. I think is helping those PRS guys. So even if let's say you don't even like to hunt, like, one, I feel sorry for you, but two, like, there's other people out there that want to be able to use this stuff. It's the backpackers, it's the hikers, it's the PRS guys that can. I mean, now you can have your data right on your wrist.
So with that one, what KJ is referencing is the Tactics Delta. Last year, we incorporated the Tactics Delta with the Applied Ballistics Elite Solver in there. So it's got the Applied Ballistics library, everything. So yeah, we talk about it within hunting, but there's also kind of the non-consumptive user that it's like just outdoors, ELR guys, all of that different stuff. And I always think it's really interesting. Garmin, the mission statement, I think that with companies, so many times mission statement is overlooked. But one of the things that Garmin's mission statement says is, create superior products that become essential to their customers' lives. And I think that two things. One of the things that I think is interesting, this is also why I talk about the ecosystem so much, is that within our individual passions, you can have the most diehard Garmin user. But they sometimes relate in one or two different products, when in reality, there's so many different products across the board that are there for them. And that also that it works together within the ecosystem. That's something that I always like letting people know about. So, man,
it's great stuff. Rehan, man, thanks for joining us here on Gun Talk Hunt. Tell our listeners and our viewers where they can find out more.
Well, you can find out more at Garmin.com, but I'm gonna, just for a few minutes.
Oh yeah, could talk about the Alpha 10.
Tell you about this one. So this is just the newest iteration of the Alpha unit, and this is, I feel like this could be another 20-minute conversation, but I promise I won't do that.
Oh yeah, no, it totally can be. Look at that, the difference there. That's crazy.
As a difference of this, essentially what it is it's going back to that idea of like, okay, this unit's out. What else do people need? And so what I found was people were like, hey, I love, the Alpha, and I love kind of that Delta simple tracking from Garmin on the 550 Plus, but I want a smaller, lighter unit. Yeah. So this 550 Plus does, it has all the tracking and training capabilities, up to 20 dogs, if you're running a TT15 out to 9 miles. But it is going to display just a simple Delta with it. And what's really cool is this thing is so light. You can see it's smaller than a deck of cards.
Oh yeah.
Throw this in your pack. And so this is for a hunter that, like, I've got an old setter, she's right back there, and you ain't getting too far away from me, but I always like knowing exactly where that's out, where it's at. For a new hunter, what's really cool is this will pair into this unit. So you can actually, like, if you're taking your sons out, you can give them the Alpha 10, 200i. They can be watching the dog, learning about the dog. You don't have to be hollering back and forth if you're hunting across a draw. Yeah. There's so much to it. You can pair this into the cell phone for mapping and watch your dogs directly off of your cell phone. So you can throw this thing in the pack and just track directly off your cell phone. The other nice thing that it does is, even without InReach, and I got to be careful in explaining this, but you can send predetermined messages between units, right? And you don't have to have InReach for that, because essentially they sync to one another. So you can
could say, you could set a message in there, say head to the truck, and hit it, and
starting the hunt, all those different things. How is everything? So again, that's an example of a unit that it can expand into so many different types of people. Somebody who's, how they say a 410's a beginner's gauge or an expert gauge. I say that with the Alpha 10. You can use it if you're just starting hunting, or if you've been hunting your whole life. It's really, what do you want to do with it? And that thing, I've actually been using this one on both my lab and on my setter, just because it's an easy, light, quick, fun thing to use.
How's it working on your lab? Does your lab range pretty far?
No, but she does need corrections every now and again.
Well, most labs do. That's just kind of a deal.
Well, for labs, for me, no, she ranges pretty close, but I do a lot of, I do hunting in different places, right? So, and she hasn't gotten into this yet, but this is just something I just believe in it, right? Where you're hunting thick grouse woods early season, it's like your dog can be 20 feet away from you.
Oh yeah, disappear.
Yeah. The other thing too is like from an upland standpoint, if you're hunting big CRP, like normally with a flushing dog, you're watching that grass. If it's a windy day, you know, there goes that.
Yeah.
And then from a duck hunting perspective, I mean, she's young and I just want to keep an eye on her, you know, get into the blind, out of the blind early. And then I was going to say like, well, if you sail a duck and you got to send a dog across the country, so, and you don't know where they're working, how they're working, a GPS will let you know that immediately. Keeps tabs on that dog.
And so will the Alpha 10 kind of operate in the ecosystem as well? I mean, as far as like paired maybe to a watch or anything like that?
This honestly is I think is a really great example of ecosystem, right? Because it comparing to the watch, it comparing to the other Alpha.
Okay.
Alpha, you know, the 200i will do that as well to other units, pairs into your cell phone, you know, all of those different things. So in the design intention of that, if you look at it, it's just so small, so light that it just helps you. And like I said, you use it how you need to use it as you want, but the features that it's got, you know, all the same tracking, all the same training. The interface of it's a little bit different. There's a toggle switch here that you're using. Before Garmin, but I've loved it so far, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep using it.
Man, always coming out with something new. Garmin's kind of known for that. And I've got to give it a shameless plug because, you know, Rehan was nice enough to send me a unit to try out. I'm going to send it back, but I've been using Garmin products for years, for decades, and without any prompting. I'm actually running a Forerunner 735 on my wrist, and it's cracked, beat to heck. The watch band has blood all over it and paint from getting shot with ammunition rounds. So, and it is trucking right along. So I love what you guys are doing over there. You guys just keep it up, man.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Rehan. All right, Gun Talk Hunt fans, like you guys keep those muzzles pointing in a safe direction and always enjoy the hunt.